today I'm going to make a fool of myself by trying to predict correctly, most likely incorrectly, the 2025 Driver Constructor order. Starting in P21, Jack Doohan. Yes, now you may be wondering, there are only 20 drivers on the grid. Ah, yes. So, Jack Doohan is, of course, there's a load of rumours circling around that he is going to be replaced at some point this season, possibly after 5 races. That is the rumour. We'll have to wait and see, because obviously we got 5 races very quickly between now and the start of May. I think it was at 6. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But yes, I do think that Jack, his preparation for moving forwards, into F1 hasn't exactly been the best thing in 2024. The only racing he did was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix right at the end. Didn't exactly have a good time of it. Yes, he survived, but he didn't really. It wasn't an amazing debut, in a car that was fighting for even Gasly. Didn't he get like P5, P6 or something like that? So I wasn't expecting him to be like up with there with Gasly, but he should be a lot closer to the top 10 than P14, 15, wherever it was that he finished as well. So yeah, I'm sorry to Jack, but his lack of preparation in terms of racing in 2024, I think is going to cost him his seat sooner rather than later. 20th place, Gabriele Bortoleto. Nothing against Gabriele, but obviously he is a rookie. The Slauber car doesn't look, after all the progress they made towards the end of last season, it looks like that's completely gone over the winter period. They do look terrible again. So, I mean, the livery, as I said in my livery tier list video a few weeks ago, it looks like it's been sneezed on, so the less we have to see that car, the better. As well. For Bortoleto, I mean, he's a rookie. It's about him getting experience, getting up to speed with a Grand Prix weekend, preparation for Audi's introduction in 2026. 19th place, Lance Stroll. Lance has not been in a very good position for a while. He's been in poor form for years, and even when Aston had a very good car, the back end, the start of 2023, Stroll was nowhere near. Adrian Newey has just arrived, but I do think that he is going to be fully focused on 2026. I do not think that there'll be any upgrades whatsoever to 2025. Or if they are, they're going to be minimal. There is little to no benefit for them to, for upgrading. Plus, they get more, whatever it is, they get more aero testing hours. So, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but yes, I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and chiz the system, and basically means that they'll get more hours to develop their 2026 car. With Adrian Newey on board, they could be in a seriously good position come 2026, providing the Honda power unit that's being built is right up there at the top. 18th place, Nico Hülkenberg. Yes, as much as Nico had a good 2024, I do think that the car is going to let him down, and for Nico, it's all about Audi in 2026 now. Working with that works engine, developing that for the future, for sure, is all going to be him. I think this is the end of Nico's career as well. He will not move on from Audi. He will retire at Audi as well. Which, if he can turn Audi from where they are, from the Audi / Slauber, where they are now, into a consistent points rate winning team, then I think they'll be good. Yes. So 17th place, Fernando Alonso. For Fernando, again, the car's going to cost him here. I do think that he is waiting for 2026 with Adrian Newey. If he will be the spearhead of that team, going into 2026. He is their best chance of getting a World Championship. No offence to Lance, but he's not in good form. And I don't think his form's going to spiral out of control. I think it's not going to really get any better for him in 2026 as well. So yeah, Alonso P17, and that's also going to give us our first two constructors positions. 10th place will be Slauber and 9th Aston Martin. 16th place, and this is where it starts to get a bit tricky, Isaac Hadjar. I'm not entirely sure Racing Bulls have what it is to be in the top half of the constructors, to be at the top of the midfield. I think they're going to be a lot further back. For Isaac, there's been a lot of some people that make comparisons that he could be like Yuki when he first arrived in Formula One, which he was quick, but he wasn't consistent. Sonoda himself showed great consistency. I'll come back to it in a moment. But for Isaac, it's just about getting through this season, trying to pick up as many points as possible, really. To be honest, we want to see that car closer to the front, really. So, yeah, I'm hoping wrong. I hope we see him getting a few more points than 16th place. But obviously, it can be close. And you're picking up P10s, P9s. It only takes somebody to have a fluke result and get a P5 to outscore you as well. 15th place, Franco Colapinto. So yes, Franco is definitely coming. Whether it's after 5 races, probably not. Probably either 10 races or even after the summer break. At the latest, the summer break, or when you'd be entering. I do think you potentially need a bit of time to get back to it, because obviously, he won't have been racing between the start of the end of last season, and of course whenever he replaces Jack Doohan. I do think that he's going to potentially do a little bit better job than Doohan, because he's been consistently racing. He would have had racing in 2024, although, as I say, it will take him a bit of time. His time out from racing won't be as long as Jack's, which is why I think he'll do better. 14th place, Yuki Tsunoda. Yes, I'm not entirely sure where the RB really is going to be, but I don't think it's going to be at the top of this sort of midfield pack. I think that they're going to be towards the back of it, and potentially getting P8s. And at the start, it's possibly going to be only Yuki scoring points for RB. Racing Bulls, Toros, or Avatar, whatever they call themselves this week. Yes. For Yuki, his 2025 for him is trying to sell himself on the market. He's had that disappointment of not being promoted to Red Bull. So he is, no matter what, he is not signing another contract for 2026. He is definitely leaving the team for sure in 2026 as well. Especially the fact that Red Bull are lining up his replacement. But I'll come back to that in my 2026 driver predictions video, lineup predictions video in a few weeks' time. And that will give us 8th place in the Constructors to Racing Bulls. 13th place, Ollie Behrman. Now, for Ollie, this is his first full season, and has only done 3 standing Grand Prix in 2024, and already shown that what he can do. So I think he'll be growing into a very good driver eventually. He is obviously Hamilton's replacement. That's why Ferrari are definitely stuck him at Hassi this season, and for seasons beyond. Until Lewis retires, and whether or not Ferrari decide that they don't want Lewis in the team, and Lewis potentially goes back to McLaren. There's always been rumours that he could go back to McLaren to finish his career. We'll have to wait and see. But for Ollie, this is his time to step up and see what he can do. And I think he'll be close, but behind his teammate Esteban Ocon. Both of these two are sort of new. Well, Ollie is technically a rookie, but he's technically not. For Ocon, it's about getting up to speed. He's been in that Renault/Alpine team for a long time now, and obviously, how quickly can he get up to driving the Ferrari engine? Because obviously his only previous experience since he left Manor since he left Force India, is of course driving a Renault engine. So it's gonna. I think there might be a bit of time for him as well. But once he gets up to speed, I think that Esteban that those two will be getting a few decent points. Don't be surprised to see Haas picking up like a P7 at some point throughout this season potentially. So yes, Ocon in 12th there. 11th place, Pierre Gasly. Gasly had a very good end to 2024, getting a podium, getting solid P5, P6 results at the end of the season. I'm not entirely sure where Alpine really are over the winter, whether then I think I've heard that they're not going to bring any upgrades potentially, which is potentially, as some teams decide to upgrade over others, that's where you could fall out and the top 10 as well. And that's going to give us 7th and 6th place in the Constructors. 7th place will be Alpine, 6th will be Haas. As well. I'm putting Haas ahead of Alpine here as well, purely because obviously Gasly, although he's finishing ahead of Ocon and Behrman, I'm not entirely sure how many points Colapinto and Doohan are going to pick up between them. I think it's going to be a less than what between what Behrman and Ocon can do. Although it could be close depending on how quickly Colapinto gets up to speed with their car, if Doohan contributes anything as well or not, who knows. But yes, obviously Gasly, he wants to continue his form. He had a very good morning on the third day, which I did see a little bit of the testing, where he was up at the top for a bit in the morning. So I think in the right conditions at the start of the season, they're going to pick up points, and then obviously when other teams upgrade, that's when they're going to be potentially outperformed, potentially by Haas. And also, we come to 10th place now, Alex Albon. Yes, as well. And I'm going to put 9th place in as well straight away, Carlos Sainz too. So I've put Sainz ahead of Albon. I think Williams looked like they had a very good winter. This is going to be the time to see what Alex is capable of as well. I do think that Williams, they're sort of in no man's land in terms of the future of the development, because obviously they wanted to try and get back to the front, but they don't have an engine partner really. They have Mercedes, so obviously, I mean, they could do well like they did back, remember 2014 when they're getting pole positions and regular podiums. That's what Sainz and Albon can give them in 2026. But 2025, it looks like they've made a step forwards in terms of the car development over the winter, and potentially they could decide to bring a few more upgrades, but that could cost them going into 2026. Bearing in mind it depends on how much the engine contributes to that performance in 2026. So yes, and that will mean Williams will finish 5th place in the Constructors as well. 8th place, George Russell. Yes. Time to get a little bit controversial. I think George is not going to have potentially a good season. He's not had the most consistent time. Yes, I know he's beaten Hamilton, but Hamilton, of course, was affected by mentally, by what happened in the end of 2021. And that obviously then, Russell, as I said at the time, was the future of that team. Russell's no longer the future of that team. That's Antonelli now. And there's obviously rumours circling about his new arch nemesis, Max Verstappen, replacing him for 2026 too. There's a load of rumblings going on. I think that George potentially may be overrated, and I think at points, and I do think that he could struggle as well, especially if Antonelli gets up to speed. Well, he could struggle. He could go without winning a race, depending on where the Mercedes car is as well. I don't think he has the right consistency in that Mercedes car. I think that he could be a good spearhead for another team in 2026, midfield team. but trying to lead Mercedes forwards, I don't see it personally. Which is why 7th place also, Andrea Kimi Antonelli as well. I think that once Antonelli gets up to speed, he will finish ahead of Russell. I don't think Mercedes will have the car. I think that a little bit of their mindset will be, let's get 4th in the Constructors. Let's make sure we've got a car for 2026 to entice Verstappen to come. That, I think, is definitely going to be on their minds. Antonelli, I mean, Arav, and I'm going to hold this to Arav in this video as well, if not on another video. Yes, Arav made a prediction that Antonelli will win a race, and I kind of potentially see that, depending on where the Mercedes car is. Again, part of that is going to be trying to entice Verstappen potentially to join the team in 2026 by having the best car out the top 4 and a good engine. You know, they've done this before and came out on top. But a lot of that will probably be on that as well. And that will give us 4th place in the Constructors to Mercedes as well. Right. 6th place, Liam Lawson. Yes. Liam has only done 11 Grand Prix, which is fewer than what Gasly, Albon and Perez had all done when they joined Red Bull. It's a matter of time of what the car's like for Liam to drive, how quickly he can get up to speed with it, if he can perform with it. I think that this is a transition year for Red Bull too. They'll probably want to try and beat Ferrari, but to 2nd place potentially. But obviously it depends on the car they bought. I think that they'll potentially look at the first part of the season and see, okay, this is where we are. Can we catch Ferrari? Yes. Let's bring some upgrades. No. Let's maybe not bring so many upgrades as well. I think for Liam, if the car's good enough, he could win a race potentially. He's got the potential. He's experienced enough. He's won multiple categories. He's come close to winning multiple championships before. F2, World Endurance Championship and Super Formula, if I remember correctly. So yes, I think he's doing well. Obviously, he could be in a good position should Verstappen to decide to leave, to steer where that car is developed next. 5th place, Lewis Hamilton. Yes, I think it'll be Lewis. What I saw testing, he did have a little bit of struggling. I do think that potentially he'll be behind. I think he'll be behind Leclerc this year. Again, 2026, massive regulation changes. It's him about getting embedded in the team. Angela's going to be back with him, I believe, as well. So hopefully she can help him get in the right mindset for the races as well. And, you know, for Lewis, we all want Lewis to see him have a go in the Ferrari, see what he can do, and try and push for an 8th World Championship for Ferrari. 4th place, Max Verstappen. I mean, it's Verstappen, right? I mean, he's still going to fight for a championship, but I think he's going to get tangled up. You know, potentially if he gets up, if Russell's anywhere near him, he'll probably threaten to put him in the wall again. If anybody else is, fighting with him, if he thinks that he can win the championship, then in the early part of the season, then there's obviously going to be some collisions potentially. You know, we've seen how he fights in a championship rival with Norris in last year and Hamilton back in 2021. And it's not the cleanest of racing, to be honest. So yes, I think he is close to a race ban as well. I think he's on 8 of the 12 points, so he could get a race ban potentially. Who knows? But for Max, the car's going to limit him, to be honest, really. Much as Red Bull want to move forwards, the loss of Adrian Newey is probably going to be too great for them. 3rd place, Charles Leclerc. I mean, McLaren are way out in front. Leclerc, he'll be solid, and I think he can win some races where McLaren aren't looking, but all too busy squabbling amongst each other. But for him, you know, it could be the, you remember back in 2020, 2021, there was all the jokes about being the podium being Verstappen, Hamilton and Bottas. It could be Piastri, Norris and Leclerc this year, as well, potentially. That's what the early indicators from testing is showing the McLaren are way out in front. For Leclerc, yeah, P3 for him. I think he'll be disappointed, but I think one mind of him will be knowing that, let's hope the 2026 car can be good. And, you know, if the rumours are true that they, obviously Renault, their engine was showing promising data, and then obviously when they cut that, when Renault cut that program, all the engineers left for Ferrari, then yeah, you know, they'll have successful data there as well. And then we come, that will then give us, so that's going to give us second and third in the Constructors, a Ferrari, and second, Red Bull in third. And then, of course, McLaren winning the Constructors. So it's going to be a McLaren 1-2. Rumours it's going to be like 1988 again, where McLaren won 15 of the 16 Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see about that. But second place. It's time to get controversial here, ladies and gentlemen. Second place, Lando Norris. Lando, although he's got good pace, and I think at this point of his career, he is faster than Piastri. The problem is, he has the tendency to get potentially tangled up, or something is always poised to go wrong with him, as well. I think that he could get Verstappen will still see him. There could be a few tanglers up in the early part of the season with Verstappen. Who knows? He could lose out as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Lando has what it takes to dominate a season. We saw it in F2 where he was leading, if I remember rightly, back in 2019, and then he bottled the championship for Russell to go on to win. Which is why P1, Oscar Piastri. It's been a while since we've had an Australian world champion in Formula 1. I think Piastri, he's had 2 seasons now. He's seen where he needs to be consistent enough. I think that he's going to grow into this season. I think it's going to be close between him and Norris. Don't get me wrong. We are going to have a real championship fight. It could go down to the last race. I think Piastri has what it takes to edge Norris. There are a few standout races already. Qatar sprint race, Baku this year, where he had really had the pace. I know there's a few races where he finished P8, which sort of ruined him, but I think that he'll grow into it. And I think he's ready to challenge for multiple race wins, to take the McLaren to their first world championship since 2008. But that's where I'm going to leave it. What do you change? What do you not disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. If you are new around here, then please do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. Until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, enjoy your day, and goodbye.